Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join our session on why study in Japan. Okay, I'm sure I'll be told if there's any issue with my screen sharing here. Yeah, my name is Daniel. I'm the Senior Marketing Officer for the International College of Liberal Arts here in the beautiful city of Kofu in Yamanashi. You can see some of the city behind me in my background here. We obviously have Mount Fuji. We have views of that all around the year. It's a very awe-inspiring sight. Let's kick this off. Give you guys a bit of a chance to maybe make some comments in the chat. Let me know in the chat, what's your favorite Japanese food? Is it like sushi, ramen? Do you like tempura? Do you like katsudon? If you know what that is. For example, those are just some options. So let me know, what's your favorite Japanese food? And also, like, what interests you in Japan? Is it, the anime? Do you like Japanese cinema? Do you like music? Do you like J-pop, for example? Do you like Japanese rock? Some of the ambient stuff, my favorite. Do you like fashion, coming out of Harajuku, for example? Is martial arts what interests you in Japan? Like karate, aikido, judo, kendo, kyudo, for example. Is it the food? Is it the technology, or is it something else? So let me know in the chat. I'll be really interested to see what kind of responses we get. So yeah, let us know. It's actually something to get your creative juices flowing. It might be a bit later where you are in the world. For me, it's quite early in the morning. But so yeah, coffee helps. Okay, all right. Without further ado, a little bit about us, just to kick this off, to give you some context about where I'm coming from. As I said, I'm in the city of Kofu. It's about 200,000 people. It's about 90 minutes from the center of Tokyo by high-speed rail, and it's the home of Mount Fuji. That 90 minutes is going to become about 15 minutes in 2027, 2028. There's a linear Shinkansen, the maglev train is being built right as we speak, actually. And there's a station that will be in Kofu, so pretty excited about that. But yeah, for now, 90 minutes by rail, or about 2 hours by bus from the center of Tokyo. And yeah, we have a lot of mountains in this area. It's very beautiful. iCLA is a department of Yamanashi Gakuin University. We're a private, not-for-profit organization. I'll talk about the different kinds of universities in Japan in a moment. But we were founded after the Second World War. And we're quite famous in Japan for the number of Olympians that have graduated from our university. Actually, that number went up. It's now about 64 after the Tokyo Games. I hope you caught some of that. Despite the circumstances, it was quite a good event, I think, and well run. We have 5 undergraduate colleges, about 4,000 students. Our Department of Liberal Arts is taught in English. The others are taught in Japanese. We have a postgrad school of social sciences as well. Just a little bit about us. We're one of the newer departments of this university. We offer a Bachelor of International Liberal Arts in English. We have 4 majors within that degree program. They are global business and economics, political science, so quite heavy on international relations, interdisciplinary art, and Japan studies. So if you're interested in any of those, please hit me up later in the chat, etc. Come check out our booth after my little speech here. We are very multicultural. Over 60% of our students come from overseas, and they come from all over the world. And we're a small department. We have about 220 students enrolled at the moment. We're quite boutique. We only allow up to 80 students per year, but that gives us a really great student to faculty ratio. And again, taught in English, you don't need to speak any Japanese to apply or to enroll. And if you're really lucky, we have dorms on site, and this could be what you wake up to every morning, a beautiful view of Mount Fuji to inspire you every day. I really love looking at Fuji. It's one of my favorite things living here. Okay, so, why should you consider Japan as a study destination? There are some very good reasons. Among them is Japan's high quality of education. Japan has a very regulated economy, and the education sector is no different. So all higher education providers in Japan are regulated by the Ministry of Education. We're all accredited by that. So this is an internationally recognized degree. Japan has some excellent universities. You may think that Japan is a very expensive country to live or to study, but actually Japan is rather affordable. Couple of reasons for that. Number one, students in Japan, so domestic students, the Japanese students, and the international students pay the same fees. I'll show you our fees as an example later, but our fees are lower than for an international student than many universities in Australia, the UK, the US in particular. So Japan is very affordable. And once you get out of Tokyo, a little bit Osaka, Fukuoka as well, Nagoya, the cost of living becomes a lot lower. Rent is cheaper, food, fresh fruits, vegetables are a lot cheaper. So, I've lived in Tokyo. It is much cheaper here in Yamanashi, even though we are only 120 kilometers from the center of Tokyo. It's not that far, but it's a lot cheaper to live here. So, and just in general cost of living, I can tell you, as an Australian, I think Japan is very cheap. So it's a very affordable place. You also have really good rights to work part-time as a student. You work up to 28 hours a week during semester. You can work up to 40 hours a week during vacations. So that increases Japan's affordability. Safe. It's a very safe country. I think that's one of the things that Japan is really renowned for. It has a very low crime rate. Acts of violence against foreigners or crimes against foreigners are almost unheard of here. It's politically very stable. Yes, we have, typhoons and earthquakes, but we have very strict building standards here because of that. So natural disasters are very rare. I actually heard somebody say the other day that, people that study this thing, they say there's no such thing as a natural disaster. All things need to be put in the context of things like the building standards in a country, the support the government gives to people who have been affected by weather events, etc. And in those respects, Japan ranks very highly. So it is a very, very safe country. Internationalization, and I'm going to link these two up as well. Employability. Japan is a fantastic country, I think. I've lived here for about 11 years. I really like it here. But Japan has a small problem. Getting bigger every day. Its population is getting older and shrinking, actually quite rapidly. It's about 127 million people here. I believe that's due to shrink to 100 million by 2050. So Japanese companies, they're active all over the world. It's a number 3 economy, overtaken by China, but as the number 2 economy. But its companies are active all over the world. These companies have branches all over the world. So they're a big player globally, but they might increasingly struggle in the future to find sufficient numbers of graduates to keep the engine pumping. Also, there's a lot of competition here for people who are bilingual, Japanese and English, or Japanese Chinese, or a third language like trilingual. So there are a lot of job opportunities for foreign graduates here. There's a lot of work, and unlike many other countries, it's very easy for you as a graduate to get sponsored for a working visa, and there is no limit to the number of times you can renew that visa. So you could stay here for as long as you want after graduation, as long as you're employed. So there's some real employability opportunities here, but most importantly, it's just an amazing place to live. Just culturally, artistically, the way that they marry the ancient and the modern, the natural and the built environment is fascinating to everybody that comes here, myself included. Continues to fascinate me. This is a pretty famous photo of Fuji in the Chureto Pagoda. I'm sure you've probably seen this somewhere. This photo was actually taken about 40 minutes drive over the hills away from the campus. So a lot of these famous photos you see of Fuji were actually taken pretty close to us in the Fuji 5 Lakes area. The food is amazing here. The people are magic. They're very, very welcoming people. Very, interested in people who are looking to study Japanese as well. And there's just so much to do here, so much to see. We have a full 4 seasons here, from the cherry blossoms in spring, a hot, dry for Japan summer here in Kofu as well, a cold winter, the leaves changing in autumn, all kinds of things. So it's nice. And you've got these mega cities, but like Tokyo, these meccas of art, design, fashion, theater, music, you name it. But also, sometimes you're in Tokyo and you'll have these little oases of calm, these ancient shrines, nestled within them. So, they really do respect that balance of nature. It's at its core, it's an animist religion that is expressed in Shinto and with the Buddhist origin. So there is a respect for nature there. It's amazing how they like to balance that. There are many things you could come here and study. You have options. You could come here and study Japanese in a language school. That's an option. You could go to what we call a tandai, a junior or vocational college. Often these are 2-year colleges where people are learning a technical skill. And then you have the universities. I'm going to split the universities up. There are obviously there's about 700 universities in Japan. You could say that's too many, but most of them obviously are taught exclusively in Japanese. But there is an increasing number of universities that have English language courses. Okay, so you might have thought, I have to study Japanese, I have to become fluent in Japanese, I go to a language school and then I can take an entrance exam to a Japanese university. But increasingly that's not true. You can apply directly from overseas to a university here in Japan and study in English and get your degree that way. That's what you can do at iCLA. Universities can be split into 3 types. We have national universities, they're the oldest ones. That's University of Tokyo kind of thing. You also have a lot of prefectural universities. So here in Yamanashi, we have the Yamanashi University, right? That's run by the prefecture. The prefecture is like a state. And then you have private universities like us, and you have not-for-profit like YGU, and you have for-profit universities, private universities as well. What is the difference? The major difference is the difficulty in getting into these things. National and prefectural universities have much lower fees, about a third of the fees of say, our university. They are extremely competitive. To get into the University of Tokyo, for example, is, yeah, I mean, you need excellent grades. I think you need to pass an interview as well. Extremely competitive, very limited spots, and they are the most prestigious universities. They are the Harvards and Yales and Oxfords, etc., of Japan. Prefectural universities also have cheaper fees, but they are extremely competitive to get into, and for the most part do not have English taught degree programs. You need to be fluent in Japanese, and you would need to pass the Japanese entrance exam to get into them. So private universities, obviously, it's a large population. They take up that excess of students that still need to be educated. And it's in the private university space that you see more English taught degree programs like ours. So that's an overview of the Japanese higher education system. How do you apply to a Japanese university? Ooh, okay, I need to wrap this up. Apparently, I've talked maybe a bit too long. Okay, I'm just going to talk about us, because I think I'm going to talk about how you would apply to an English language degree. Typically, you would be able to do it online for an English language degree, and it's the same at iCLA. For us, we do not set a minimum GPA for applications or for scholarships. So it's a holistic review. We accept a wide variety of countries' standardized tests. So in many cases, you don't need to take the SAT. And again, you don't need to speak Japanese. You will need a minimum English requirement, and ours is IELTS 6.0 or equivalent. So our process, you do the online application, pay the fee, have a screening, and then we have an interview, and then you get notified of your results and do the enrollment procedure. I'll tell you about iCLAs. These are pretty typical of what you would need. You would need a high school diploma. Unless you are applying from Russia, Belarus, Peru, Myanmar, or Sudan, you need to have 12 years of education. That is a government regulation. So you'll need that high school diploma or a predicted graduation certificate. You'll need those entrance exams or predicted grades. Most universities that are doing English language degree programs will accept the IB. For us, you need 6 or more results. You need 6 results from 6 or more subjects, and you don't need the SAT on top of that. You just need the IB diploma. Many other students are doing A levels. They're doing the Cambridge at a WASC or etc. certified school. For A levels, you need 2 A level subjects or 1 A level and 2 AS, so 3 in total. Okay. So accept that.
Sorry to interrupt. We have 2 more minutes until we need to start the Q&A.
Okay. All right, I'll run through this then. All right. And then you'll need to prove your English language requirements. Different universities have different requirements. Ours is IELTS 6.0 or equivalent, and we accept the Duolingo exam. Okay. I will just pop this up here. I won't read off it, but generally you'll need a statement of purpose and a scholarship exam. Scholarship essay. I'm going to give you some idea of fees, and ours are quite typical for a Japanese university. There is an enrollment fee at almost every Japanese university. Ours is no different. You see our tuition, facility, and equipment fees are a bit under 1.6 million yen per year. And then we have a dormitory and a cafeteria on site. So we have dorm fees and a meal plan fee, mandatory for the first year, and otherwise you can move out. So in total, about 25,000 US dollars per year, and you can reduce that through a scholarship. That's probably 2 minutes. I should stop talking and we should go to the Q&A. How does that sound?
Thank you so much. It's very useful information. I think everyone appreciates everything that you've said today. So we have about 3 questions today.
Excellent.
What type of questions are asked during the interview?
That's a great question. Allow me to take a quick sip of water and I will answer it.
No problem.
Okay, so we're a liberal arts college. So we are trying to really teach you that there are vital linkages between economics, politics, art, culture, history, how these cycles repeat. All these things influence each other, right? We're trying to train you to see how those things interplay with each other in order for you to make, better art, for one, if you're doing the interdisciplinary art major, but if you're doing the global business and economics, political science major, you make better investment decisions, better career decisions, because you can see trends, you can see how world events may play out. So we often ask you, because of that, about how aware you are of certain current events around the world. We might also ask you about the economic or political situation in your home country as well. We often ask you about your feelings towards the concept of democracy and its importance. But also, it's not a job interview. We're not trying to knock you out of the process. What we are trying to do is get a feel for the type of personality that you are, what motivates you, what interests you, where your strengths are. Why do you want to study in Japan? How do you think iCLA's curriculum will assist you with your aspirations, your career goals, what you'd like to do after you graduate, that kind of a thing. We have very small class sizes, typically 10 to 15 students in a class. So it's a very discussion-based, they're more sort of, they're not so much lecture-based as they are kind of a dialogue, a seminar kind of style. So if you need to be comfortable sort of, expressing yourself. We want to get, a real sense for whether that style of education, and you're not just learning from the lecturers, and the professors, you're learning from your other fellow students and their variety of backgrounds. That's actually something our students quite often comment on, is how much of a melting pot this place is and how much they learn from their other fellow students. We're trying to get an idea about whether that style will suit you. If you are the kind of student that wants to sit at the back of, macroeconomics 101, lecture theatre with 400 other students in the dark and not say anything, this might not be the kind of education for you, because you're going to be asked to give your opinion, to express yourself. So we're trying to get to know you and make that decision.
Awesome. Thank you. And what extracurricular activities are available for students at iCLA?
That's a great question as well. We have a variety of clubs that, at YGU, there's about 90 different clubs here. Also, sporting teams that are, trying to compete at very, high level. You can try out for those if you want. Some of the clubs, Japanese students take they're very serious about their club activities. It's a big part of the culture here. So you might find that, the clubs are a bit too much of a time commitment. There might be a bit of a language barrier, although iCLA students are very, very welcome to join. Students are amazed when people get involved. But there's a variety of other things you can do here as well. If you don't want to do the clubs, there's also casual, people have like a kind of WhatsApp group. They organize, different sports they play during the week. Like, they might do five-a-side soccer or basketball, what have you. There's so many sporting facilities here, as you can imagine. We're pumping out so many Olympians. They have board game nights throughout the week, movie nights. They hold parties throughout the year. We have galas at least twice a year, acoustic nights, art parties, all kinds of stuff that they're doing. There's a lot to do in this area. There's a lot to explore if you like hiking, mountain climbing, cycling, camping, fishing. There's a lot of outdoor activities here. It's a very popular area for people to come as a sort of getaway. Lots of golf courses too, but maybe that's me showing my age and my interest in that. But that's an option as well.
Very good. That sounds very fun. And we have one more question, and that is, what is the total yearly cost in USD for students to study at iCLA, including with the cost of living?
Yeah, with the cost of living. So we have a dorm on site. It's mandatory for students to live in that dorm in their first year. And there is a cafeteria serving 3 meals a day during semesters, during weekdays during semester. So, and they need to be enrolled in that as well. So, and there's no transportation costs, and there's very few extra fees. I don't think there's many textbooks that you need to buy. Most of it's provided. It's part of the facilities fee. So, the tuition, facility, equipment fee, and the dorm and the meal plan works out to about $23,000 to $24,000 per year. Your cost of living on top of that depends on your lifestyle. So hard to say, because that's different for different people, like how much you want to travel. You can work part-time here, up to 28 hours a week during semester, and up to 40 hours a week during the vacations. So you can do lots of internships and stuff. And we have scholarships as well, from 25 up to 100% waiver of the tuition, facility, and equipment fees. And many of our students are on the 25, maybe 50% scholarship as well. So then that would reduce those expenses as well. There's also a Japanese government stipend paid to about 90% of students that apply, that supports you for the first 6 to 12 months that you're in Japan.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining this session. If you'd like more information, feel free to chat with Daniel Guys directly or visit the iCLA at Yamanashi Gakuin University booth. See you at the next session.